You ever sit at a family dinner and suddenly realize you're not part of your own story anymore? That was me just last month, sitting across from my mom's famous pot roast, trying to figure out why there were two extra plates on the table. I'm Zara, 26. I live in a small town outside of Cincinnati. I've been dating Logan for almost 2 years. We met at one of those casual game nights a mutual friend hosts. Once a month dollar store snacks board games, no expectations. He wasn't flashy or loud. He made a joke about how everyone forgets the rules to Uno and handed me a paper plate like we'd known each other for years. And somehow that turned into this quiet, steady kind of love I'd never had before. But my family, they've never really seen him. My parents are what you'd call modestly traditional, not the country club. Martha Stewart kind of traditional. More like dad works overtime 6 days a week at the same machine shop he's been at since he was 22, and mom clips coupons like it's an Olympic sport. Family first is their motto, but what they really mean is whatever dad says goes. Logan's been around. He's polite, brings flowers for my mom, tries to talk sports with dad, but they've always treated him like background noise. So that Sunday, when mom casually said Warren and Dexter would be joining us for dinner, I didn't think much of it. Warren's dad's best friend from high school, and Dexter's his son. I barely know him. He's quiet, maybe 27, works in IT or something. Still lives at home. Harmless, I thought. Dinner started normal enough. Vera, my younger sister, was texting nonstop under the table. Mom was fussing with the roast. Dad zoning out in front of the TV like usual. But then I noticed how mom kept giving Dexter the best cuts of meat, offering him more tea, smiling like she was auditioning for a commercial. Vera kept nudging me under the table like she knew something I didn't, and then dad cleared his throat. Zara, Warren, and I have been talking. I froze. You and Dexter. It makes sense. Our families go way back. He's got a good head on his shoulders and Warren's expanding his business. We'd like to see the two of you together. I almost dropped my fork. Wait, what? I asked, half laughing. Sure, this was some weird joke. Warren jumped in, grinning like he'd won a prize. He's ready to settle down, and we thought what better match than joining two strong families. My mom nodded like this was the most natural thing in the world. I looked across the table at Dexter, who was still focused on cutting his brownie. He hadn't said a word. I'm dating Logan, I said quietly but firmly. You know that? Mom waved her hand like I was a toddler, insisting on wearing glitter shoes to church. That's just a phase, honey. We're talking about your future here. Logan's a nice enough boy, Dad said, but he's not going anywhere, and that was it. Just like that, they dismissed the man I love. Dismissed 2 years of memories, conversations, late-night laughter, like it was some passing hobby. I stood up, heart pounding. I'm not marrying Dexter. You have until the end of the month. Dad said coldly, we're announcing the engagement at Warren's birthday. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. Not then. I just walked out, hands shaking, grabbed my bag, and stepped out into the cold evening where Logan was already waiting in his car. We were supposed to go to Walmart to buy shelves for his apartment. Instead, I climbed into the passenger seat, buckled my seatbelt, and whispered, we have a problem. That was yesterday. Today, my phone hasn't stopped buzzing, missed calls from mom, angry texts. Even my cousin messaged me asking if it's true I ran off with Logan. Vera sent a string of WTF messages and told me Dad's serious. Like, willing to cut me off serious, I'm staying at Logan's studio apartment now. It's barely big enough for one person, let alone two. We sat up late last night eating ramen and trying to figure out what to do. We'd planned to move in together next month when his lease ends, but now it feels like we're fast-forwarding life at warp speed. I know I'm not perfect. But is it so wrong to want to marry someone because I love them, not because it benefits my father's business? I keep asking myself, if I say no, do I lose my family? But if I say yes, do I lose me? Logan says he'll support whatever I choose. But what would you do if you were me? Would you stay and play the good daughter, or would you walk away, even if it meant walking into the unknown? It's 1:14 a.m., and I'm sitting on Logan's couch, if you can call this lumpy fold-out a couch eating dollar store cookies, trying to ignore the drip, drip, drip of the broken faucet in the kitchenette. The landlord hasn't responded to Logan's text about the water heater, and I just finished showering using boiled kettle water and a plastic mixing bowl in the sink. This is what rock bottom looks like. Apparently, it's been 2 weeks since the disaster dinner. 2 weeks since my family tried to trade me for a failing business deal, and 2 weeks since I moved into Logan's studio apartment, an awkward 400-square-foot space where the bathroom door doesn't close all the way. The fridge hums like an old man clearing his throat, and our only real furniture is a futon, a folding table, and Logan's gaming chair that he calls the throne. We're tripping over each other constantly. My makeup bag lives in the kitchen cabinet next to the ramen. His sneakers live under the sink. Last night, I found my mascara next to the soy sauce, but what's worse than the chaos inside our space is the chaos outside of it. My mom hasn't stopped texting. Half the messages are guilt trips. You're tearing this family apart. The other half are manipulative. You'll regret this someday when Logan can't even afford diapers. Vera told me they've already printed engagement party invitations. Yes, printed with a venue and a date and everything. For a wedding I never agreed to. She even sent me a photo of one. There's my name paired with Dexter's, a stranger, a placeholder. It's like I don't exist anymore unless I'm doing what they want. The gossip has gone nuclear. My cousin Opelia came by Logan's place with a bag of winter clothes. I left at her place, along with a warning that my mom's been calling every single relative to explain that I'm brainwashed, that I'm throwing my life away. And the worst part, it's working. My manager at the boutique I work at called me in for a chat after my mom called the store. Cried to my boss about her troubled daughter. Since then, my hours have mysteriously been cut. Logan's dealing with his own storm. His car failed its inspection last week, and the repair estimate is more than the car's worth. He's been biking to work 4 miles each way in the rain because he doesn't want me to stress, but I see it. I see the way he looks at me when he thinks I'm not paying attention. Like he's failing me, like all of this is his fault. I've started selling clothes on Poshmark just to scrape together some savings. Logan's been doing random gigs on TaskRabbit furniture assembly, junk removal, dog walking. Last week, he picked up a shift hanging Christmas lights for a couple that complained the entire time about how crooked the tinsel looked. He came home soaked, bruised, and smiling. $50 is $50, he said. We're learning to stretch every dollar. Rice and beans are our new best friends. Our date nights now involve comparing Craigslist rental listings while eating generic brand popcorn. Sometimes I laugh at how ridiculous it is. Sometimes I cry instead. Last weekend, we ran into my parents at Walmart. It was awful. They were in the cereal aisle. I was grabbing a gallon of off-brand milk. My mom saw our cart full of store-brand everything and started crying on the spot, right there between the Cheerios and the granola bars. She looked at me like I was some homeless stranger. Dad didn't say a word, just stared at Logan like he'd personally destroyed the stock market. We left before they could say more, but that image my mom sobbing over discount oatmeal won't leave me, and then it got worse. The apartment we were planning to move into next month, the one Logan had put a deposit on, the landlord decided to rent it to his nephew instead. No warning, no apology. Just sorry, kid, blood over contracts, so now we're out of time. Logan's lease ends in 2 weeks and we have nowhere lined up. His friend Andre offered us a spare room in his parents' garage. Conversion. Yes, you read that right, but accepting feels like admitting failure. Logan keeps saying we'll figure it out, that we're in this together. But some nights I catch him staring at a pack of ramen for a little too long, shoulders slumped like the weight of it all is finally settling in, and me. I don't know how much more I can take. I love him, I really do, but everything is crumbling. My job, my family, my plan. The life I thought I was building, is this what freedom looks like? Because some nights it just feels like floating adrift with no land in sight. Sometimes clarity doesn't arrive as a light bulb. Sometimes it arrives as a waterlogged box of lies floating in a flooded basement. It was raining like crazy last week when Vera called me, voice shaking. The basement at my parents' house was flooding, something about the old sump pump failing and she was home alone, panicking. I hesitated for a second. Walking back into that house felt like walking into a war zone. But she needed help, and she's still my sister. So Logan and I drove over with trash bags and rubber gloves. The power was flickering. Water seeping in at the corners, cardboard boxes already sagging and collapsing. Vera was barefoot, bailing water with a mixing bowl. Tears and rainwater streaming down her face. We got to work stacking what we could on shelves and moving valuables upstairs. That's when I saw it, a dented gray filing cabinet tipped on its side drawers, half-open papers spilling out like a busted dam. Most of them were soggy tax returns and warranties, the usual junk. But one stack caught my eye. Loan documents, all of them signed by Warren Dexter's dad, but the real gut punch. My dad's name on every single one. As co-signer, it was like someone cracked a window in a room that had been locked for years. I started piecing it together. The arranged marriage wasn't about tradition or love or even family unity. It was about debt. My dad had been bankrolling Warren's failing company for years. Small loans at first, then bigger ones. Some were labeled final notice. Others had aggressive payment plans marked with red X's. I kept flipping through them, my fingers wet and shaking. The most recent, Just before the dinner, where they tried to set me up with Dexter, and then came the smoking gun printed emails between my dad and a development company. They were negotiating to sell both businesses as a package deal, a buyout big enough to clear all the debt, give my dad a fresh start. But there was a catch. The buyer wanted proof of continuity and family succession, meaning they wouldn't seal the deal unless the businesses stayed in the family. Enter Zara and Dexter. A fake engagement, a wedding used as leverage, and my life sold like a condition in a merger contract. I felt sick. Vera found more documents Warren had hidden from even his own wife. He'd mortgaged their house twice. Without telling her, my dad had signed off on it, probably thinking it was temporary, that Warren would bounce back, but he didn't, and now my father was drowning, dragging me down with him like an anchor. I took photos of everything before the water ruined it all. I even sent the files to Dexter. He responded a few hours later. Well, that explains the rush. Turns out, he's been dating someone for over a year, a single mom he met online. His dad knew, disapproved, and had been pressuring him to break it off. Just like me, Dexter was being used as a pawn, a bargaining chip. 2 lives hijacked by 2 desperate fathers. The next day, Opelia dropped by our motel with ramen, our unofficial love language, now, and more family gossip than I could handle. Apparently, Warren's wife had found out about the hidden mortgage and moved out, took their daughter, changed the locks. Warren's now crashing on his brother's couch. And my dad still won't talk to me directly. But Vera told me he's been asking questions: if I'm eating, if I'm safe, if I still wear my seatbelt, because she never remembers in the back seat. My mom stopped with the guilt texts. Now it's memes, sad ones, missing my daughter type of stuff. I don't even know what to do with that. Logan doesn't talk much about it. He just holds me, makes dumb jokes to make me smile. Last night, while folding our laundry on our one shared towel, he asked if we should start a business selling cat hats online. It worked for that woman on Shark Tank, he said, totally serious. Plus, cats never try to marry you off for real estate deals. It made me laugh, like really laugh. The kind that starts in your chest and bursts out before you can stop it, because for the first time, I wasn't scared. I was angry. Angry that they used me. Angry that they lied. Angry that I ever felt guilty for choosing love over leverage. They say blood is thicker than water, but love is thicker than both. And that day, standing in the middle of a moldy basement surrounded by rotting lies, I made a choice. I choose me. We got married on a Tuesday, not because it was romantic, not because the weather was beautiful or the stars aligned, but because it was the only day that week we both had off work and the courthouse had an opening. I wore a white dress I found on Amazon for $30. It looked better in the photos. Honestly, Logan wore the one button-down shirt he owns that doesn't have a stain or wrinkle. Our witness, Andre, not my cousin, the other, Andre, Logan's best friend, who took the bus and brought a granola bar for wedding snacks. It wasn't glamorous. The Uber ride to the courthouse smelled like weed and pine-scented air freshener. We split the fare 3 ways because, well, that's just where we're at. But when the clerk asked, "Do you take this person?" and Logan looked at me like I was the most obvious answer in the world, I forgot about everything else. The clerk was still chewing her lunch while stamping our forms. There was a guy in the corner doing jury duty paperwork and sneezing every 5 seconds. Not a single flower or photographer in sight, and yet it was perfect. Andre took pictures on his phone. Most are blurry. But there's this one, just one, where I'm laughing so hard because I almost dropped Logan's $12 wedding ring. He's looking at me like I'm the entire world. That's the one we posted. The caption: "So we did a thing." First comment, a string of heart emojis from Opelia. Then came Vera's call. She was laughing and crying at the same time. Said she was proud of me. Worried but proud. Then the storm hit. My mom saw the post in the middle of grocery shopping and called from the parking lot, sobbing so hard the cart guy offered her water. She said things like, "You ruined everything and I'll never show my face at church again, Dad." According to Vera, he threw his phone across the room and said something about how I was lost to the family. Warren drove to their house to comfort my dad. Classic Dexter. He liked the photo, even commented, "Congrats." I have no idea if it was sarcasm or sincere, but honestly, it made me laugh. That night, Logan and I celebrated at the diner around the corner from the courthouse. We split fries and a milkshake because that's what we could afford. The waitress found out we'd just gotten married and gave us a slice of pie on the house. It was cherry. I don't even like cherry pie, but that night it tasted like magic. We didn't go on a honeymoon. We went back to our $45 a night motel room that smelled like old cigarettes and had scratchy towels. The Wi-Fi cut out every 10 minutes and the water took forever to heat, but we didn't care. It was ours. Our first night as husband and wife, we watched YouTube on Logan's phone until we both fell asleep in our clothes. The next morning, we started looking for apartments again. Still nothing fancy, just something with working plumbing and maybe enough space for 2 towels. I've been selling more stuff on Poshmark Logan's, picking up extra shifts, and started delivering food on weekends. We budget, we hustle, we scrape together, hope like loose change in a couch cushion. But somehow, it's easier now we've found rhythm in the chaos. Our motel coffee maker has doubled as a ramen cooker. Our dates are now long walks through neighborhoods we can't afford to live in, dreaming out loud about future pets and furniture that isn't from a curb. We got approved for an apartment last week. It's ground floor, weird layout, no dishwasher, and the hallway smells like pickles for some reason, but it's ours. We're moving in Friday. Vera's helping. She's bringing leftovers from Mom's kitchen, accidentally. We all know what that means. Mom's not talking to me yet, but she's sending me forwarded articles about healthy marriage communication, baby steps, and Logan. He's still my soft place to fall, still humming when he washes dishes, still reminding me that we're not defined by what we don't have, but by how we show up for each other. We don't have money or stability or approval from anyone over the age of 50, but we have love, and right now that feels like more than enough. I wasn't planning to go back home for Thanksgiving. Too many memories, too many looks, too much unsaid. But then Mom sent a text, just one line. "We'll save you a seat if you want it." It didn't say sorry. It didn't say come home. But for my mom, that was basically a full-blown emotional speech. Logan and I stared at the message for a long time before he said, "Well, free food is free food." We still live in the apartment with the weird layout and no dishwasher, but it's finally starting to feel like ours. We found a secondhand couch with a stain that looks suspiciously like Danny DeVito. If you squint, but it's comfy. We've got a bed frame now. Goodbye air mattress, and the kitchen cabinet doesn't double as my skincare shelf anymore. The neighbor kid upstairs has switched from trumpet to drums, which weirdly feels like progress. Logan's car is still making that same noise. It's become sort of a soundtrack to our lives, but we're saving up slowly between his delivery runs and my weekend shifts. He's taking online courses now, something with programming. I might join him soon. But for now, I'm just focused on getting through each day. When we showed up at my parents' house for Thanksgiving, my stomach felt like a bag of wet sand. The table was full, uncle's cousins, Vera running point like a pro, Opelia keeping things light. My Aunt Alice still made shady comments about unconventional life choices, and my uncle pretended we weren't there at all. But then I saw it on the mantle, our wedding photo, right next to the horribly awkward middle school picture of me with braces and butterfly clips. That moment, that was everything. Mom didn't cry this time. She just hugged me too tight and said, "You look happy." I said, "I am," later. She brought out a pie she made from scratch, said she was testing recipes for Christmas. I don't even like pie, but I ate the whole slice. Dad didn't say much. But when Logan mentioned his car issue, Dad perked up. The next day, they were texting car part links like they were best buds. That's how my dad apologizes, through tools and tutorials, and Warren divorced his ex-wife came to Thanksgiving too. Yep, you heard right. She brought sweet potato casserole and gave a toast about new beginnings. Warren's living with his brother, who now charges him rent. Karma doesn't always move fast, but when it hits, it hits. Dexter is thriving weirdly. He's moved in with his girlfriend, and her kid started streaming on Twitch and actually makes money now. He and Logan even game together. Sometimes I don't ask too many questions, I just let it be. And me, I still wake up some days wondering how I got here. Not in the sad, regretful way, but in that, is this really my life now? Kind of wonder. It's not perfect, but it's mine. Sometimes when Logan's humming in the kitchen or scrolling through ridiculous cat memes on the couch, I'll glance over and feel this quiet kind of joy, the kind that doesn't need an Instagram caption, the kind you grow into. The other night, I caught him trying to cook rice in the coffee maker again. It didn't work. It never works. But I laughed until my stomach hurt. Then he looked at me and said, "We've come a long way from ramen on the motel floor, huh?" Yeah, we really have. I'm not the girl who let her parents decide her future anymore. I'm not the girl who cried in the cereal aisle because her mom saw generic brand oatmeal in the cart. I'm someone who chose love, who chose me, and that's a choice I'll never regret. If you were me, what would you have done? Would you have stayed? Played the role of the good daughter, or would you have walked away too, even if it meant building your life from scratch? I'd love to hear your story. Maybe it's not the same, but I bet you've had to choose between their expectations and your truth, and maybe, just maybe, we're all just trying to find our own version of home.